Hello, everybody. My name is Philip Lovejoy. I'm the Executive Director of the Harvard Alumni Association, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this session today. If you would just do me the favor, I know we have incredible representation across our various alumni communities, clubs, SIGs, classes. I'd also love to know where you're all zooming in from. So if you wouldn't mind going into chat and just entering where you are to everyone, that would be great. And we can see how globally connected we are today. If you need any tech support or if you have any questions, please chat to HAA support in the chat. That's our colleague Angela, who can take care of everything, so she'll help you out. I'd like to also point out that this forum is a piece of a much bigger puzzle. Part of today's goals are to understand how we can support one another in our work, specifically in support of social justice and anti-racism. At the end of the forum, we'll share information about other learning opportunities that we're working on in the Alumni Association. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Bob Manson. He's a Kennedy School graduate, HAA director, former president of the Harvard Club of Ireland, and a member of a working group of self-organized volunteers on anti-racism who've been informing this programming. Bob's going to briefly share about the collaborative work he's doing on developing a fascinating program on allyship. So Bobby, take it away.
Thanks, Philip. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today. Well, I've got a short amount of time, so I'll get straight to the point. When I say we, I mean myself and fellow HAA director Ty Moore are doing an event on the 7th of October coming up, which is for the Harvard Clubs of Europe. And what I want to do now is just tell you a little bit about the origin of how this event came about. So I had met Ty at a couple of the HAA meetings. Great guy, absolutely fantastic guy, got along well together. George Floyd's murder happened, and I think all of us kind of collectively felt that there was just a wave of emotion around that. And I'm based in Dublin, Ireland. I reached out, I sent Ty an email and I said, look, I just want to talk to you about this. I feel full of emotion about it. I feel a little helpless about it. But I want to talk, have a discussion with you about racism. From your perspective. And so we started having that conversation, and it became apparent during that conversation that both of us felt that we felt really passionate about it. We wanted to do something about it. We wanted to create a safe environment for people to have this discussion about racism. So I knew Ty is a leadership coach, leadership and mentorship coach. So we started kicking around the idea of doing an event, in this time of virtual events everywhere. Why don't we do an event for the Harvard Clubs of Europe? As I said to Ty, there's probably an awful lot of people who look like me who want to talk about this subject in greater detail from the point of view of actually doing something about it, rather than just creating another talking shop. And so Ty said, well, look, why don't we do an event around building allies across Europe? So we started to talk about it. I reached out to some of the HAA directors in Europe, some of the presidents of the various Harvard clubs across Europe. And so we've put together an event, like I said, it's going to happen on the 7th of October. We sent out the email announcing the event last week. We're doing it in collaboration with the Harvard Club of Boston. We're anticipating we're going to have we're hoping around 400 participants. The initial feedback has been extremely positive around the event. But like I said, the main point around it was to build an event that focuses on taking positive steps, not just setting up a talking shop, but actually identifying positive, constructive things that we're able to do around this topic. So that's coming up, like I say, it's the 7th of October, and we're truly very, very excited about it. Let me now introduce you to Maya Varone. Maya is Harvard College class of 1984. She's also the parent of a Harvard College class of 2018 graduate. She's the regional chair of the Harvard Black Alumni Society Southern California chapter, and she's also the secretary of Southern California. Maya's going to talk to you a bit more about community building through the creation of an anti-racism committee.
Hi, so yes, I'm Maya Varone, and I also have a short amount of time, so I'll just go right to sort of my how-to list of how to kind of create an active anti-racism committee on your board. The one thing I have to say, that's my husband, who's the president of the Harvard Club of Southern California. Anyway, the most important thing about putting one of these, an anti-racism group together, I would say, is to have an enthusiastic group of people. And we were very lucky to have 20 people who wanted to be part of this committee when we announced that we were creating it, including, we have 3 co-chairs, and then my husband, who just ran behind me, is also one of the active people. He's the president of the club. So, I mean, this is exhausting work. And even though it's primarily Zoom oriented right now, it's great to have a group of people who are all coming up with ideas and not have it just rest on the back of, 1 or 2 people. So that's the most important thing. After that, what we did was we created a mission statement, and so we would know whether we were actually achieving what we wanted to achieve. So our mission statement included that we wanted to educate alumni as to what anti-racism was, engage them in activities where they were interacting with each other, as well as with the outer Southern California community, and also support anti-racism causes and Black-owned businesses. And we made that choice to sort of focus mainly on Black businesses, as opposed to, racism can be across a lot of different ethnicities, but anti-Blackness really is sort of the core of racism. So we made that choice to just support Black businesses as far as what we were going to list. So then after that, we, education being kind of the easiest thing to do in this situation, we created a resource page that we put on our club website. And that included, and again, this is a very easy thing for people to do, to gather this information. It included, books, movies, recommended articles, podcasts, as well as local Black-owned businesses that people could support. And this is something easy that a committee can do if you have people who aren't, who that's the most active that they can be. They feel that they can do something. They can help put together a list. And also webinars, which we create, but you can also find other webinars, such as the ones that the Radcliffe Institute has done, are just excellent ways to promote what other people are doing. And a lot of times your organization can join other people's webinars. You don't actually have to be a member. So it helps support other people's work. Again, the webinars are a major part of the education. And we were lucky to have somebody in our, one of our active committee members, somebody who works in diversity, equity, and inclusion freelance as his job. And he was able to actually come up with a variety of different webinar topics that we were able to take advantage of. So, you need to use people's connections on your committee, who they know, who they can find as speakers, so you can create webinars that then you can invite people to join. So that's part of that was the education element. The hardest part that we're finding is the engage element. So one of our webinars was actually an event, an affinity group event, where we had something called Anti-Racism 101, where we had speakers talk about what anti-racism is and how you can, where you fit on the path of becoming an anti-racist. And then after that, we had 3 affinity group meetings, one for white-facing people, one for Black-facing people, Black identifying people, and one for people of color. And although a lot of people felt uncomfortable splitting up into those sorts of groups, we found that, the person who was leading this said that this is generally a way for people to be honest about what they want to say without feeling like, there are people watching them or judging them, and we found that they were effective. Different things happened in different groups, as you can imagine, but everyone felt very good about that. And we recently had a meeting trying to decide what our next step would be after that. But that was a real engagement kind of activity. What came out of that was a lot of people wanted to know, what do I do in this or that awkward situation? So, in the future, we're currently trying to, it's my dog, figure out sort of maybe some kind of training video or workshop that really delves into what you say in this or that awkward situation, or what you say if you're someone who feels like someone is being racist against you. How do you manage and navigate those situations? So that's what we're currently thinking about. We also wanted to engage people in a voter suppression, a focused activity, trying to help people, trying to help our election be a fair election. And again, that's something that we're just in the middle of. We haven't quite figured that one out. As far as supporting Black businesses, we're sort of leaving that to people to do on their own. And that's where we are right now. I think I don't know if I've run out of time, but again, the main thing is to have an active group of people and then plumb their contacts and their connections and see what everyone can do on their own. I know, Patrick, did you want to add anything? The president of the club? Okay. So that's my presentation.
That's great.
I don't know, am I supposed to introduce the next person?
I'll do that. I think that's my that's on my to-do list. Thanks, Maya. So I'm happy to introduce you to Tim McCarthy. Tim is Harvard College class of 1993. He's Harvard College class of 1993 secretary. He's a lecturer on history in literature, public policy and education, and core faculty at the Carr Center for Human Rights Policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. Woo! He's going to share with you about difficult conversations on Facebook. Take it away, Tim.
Great, thank you very much. I know that we're tight for time, so I'm going to do my best to be clear and breathless at the same time. I was asked by Heather and Chris and Philip and others at the HA to talk a little bit about how our class, the class of 93, has managed our class Facebook group, which was founded in December of 2007, the year before our 15th reunion. And generally speaking, this has been a pretty robust place and a pretty congenial place over the years. It pops up every now and then, depending on what contentious thing might be happening at Harvard or in the world. But generally, this has been a place of community and communion and convening that's been really helpful for us, particularly between the reunion cycles and particularly after our 25th reunion a couple of years ago in 2018. This summer, our class Facebook page, instead of being full of what we call hashtag 93love and being a 93 love fest, it turned into a 93 fight club. And that was for a variety of reasons, I think. COVID, global pandemic, we're spending a lot of time at home and online. A deep and profound and long overdue and quite contentious racial reckoning in the United States, especially. In the wake of that, a group of 60 or 70 classmates formed an anti-racism reading group that people opted into, really energetically organized by 4 of our classmates, and people were really excited about that. But it also, in the midst of the racial reckoning happening all around us, raised a lot of really difficult issues for a lot of folks. And then the general political existential crisis that all of us, I think, are feeling in different ways. So a whole series of things kind of exploded in late May, June, and then it moved into July and throughout the summer. And it was a very heated summer on our Facebook page, one that resulted in, and who knows about cause and effect, about 100 of our classmates leaving the page. We had over 1,000 around commencement time, and we now have 911. And I don't know exactly whether this is the cause of that, but I'm sure it contributed to it. We experienced a set of challenges and then learned some lessons. So let me just run through them really quickly. The first challenge has always been, what kind of community do we want this virtual space to be? And one thing that we learned this summer is that our Facebook group is not the class. That this is a part of how we might communicate or convene or gather, but it is not the class itself. And so that led us to another challenge about how to articulate this space being a privilege and a responsibility and not principally a right. And so what that led us to do was to create, we had some general guidelines for community standards in the page, which were not super strictly enforced, didn't come with any penalties initially, and were kind of gauzy and generic in some ways. So we created a more stricter set of guidelines with clear penalties and warning standards and so forth, which we as a group of 5 of us, our 2 class marshals, Moitri's on the call, she's one of them, the class secretary treasurer, and our perennial reunion chair. The 5 of us are an executive committee that also moderate the Facebook group. So we posted a stricter, more specific set of community guidelines with clear penalties, which was well received by some, not well received by others. One big challenge for us is, how do you engage when people report posts? They're offended by posts and they want to report them for removal. How do we respond to individual private complaints that we get over direct message, text, in person, over the phone? And how do we engage bad behavior? Those are 3 different categories. When something's specifically reported on the Facebook page, when we get private complaints from classmates, and when we see bad behavior by classmates. We approach this in a very labor-intensive way that was both individual and intentional. We said that we were going to have individual conversations. One of us, of the 5 of us, was going to have an individual one-on-one conversation with every single person who fell into one of those categories. And you can imagine, especially this summer when things got heated, how time-intensive that was. And we had to be really careful about which one of us was engaging with people. Do we want to pair us up based on identity, based on ideology, based on our intimacy and our level of friendship with these people? And we made a whole set of choices, some of which worked really well, some of which did not. I'm happy to talk more about the difference there. Then we came to the challenge of burnout and frustration. I think almost all of us contemplated quitting as moderators, and in my case, and in one other case, as class officers, because of how contentious and brutal the summer became. And one thing that we came to, a lesson we learned and that we're going to put in place after the election in 2021, is to rotate the moderators. So we'll be stepping down as moderators and a new group of classmates will be replacing us. And then the last challenge is, how do we get back to the 93 love? How do we turn the Fight Club back into a love fest? And one thing that we learned from this summer is that Facebook cannot be the only space for our class to convene and commune, that it may not even be the best one, particularly in these contentious times. And the last thing I'll say before we go to breakout groups is that we really wrestled this summer with a big question, which is, how do we as class leaders speak our individual truths about these issues that are boiling over and exploding, and also lead effectively as lifetime class officers and a group of leaders who have been intact for 27 years now. And we're still working that out. How do we have our individual voices as classmates, as citizens, as members of this community, and also lead in a way that's effective? And we learned some tough lessons this summer, which I'm also happy to elaborate on. So now we're going to go into the breakout groups, and each of the breakout groups will have someone from the anti-racism working group moderating and helping to guide and facilitate our sessions. So we'll go into them now, and then we'll come back in about 25 or 30 minutes.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Guy Fish, class of 1981 and treasurer of the Harvard Alumni Association. I want to thank each of you for your participation and work in these learning forums, asking questions and sharing experiences as we confront the work we can do as concerned and active members of the Harvard community to address our social upheaval and the reckoning with our legacy and the practice of racism in America. You are an inspiration. Thank you. At this moment, if everyone would go to the chat and just place a one-word reflection on how you're feeling right now, that'd be awesome. We will capture that. Harvard Alumni Association leadership has responded to the call from within the Harvard Alumni Association to provide resources and tools to help Harvardians in our individual and collective efforts to confront racism. As Harvardians, we were matriculated, trained, and called upon to lead. Leadership is about accepting responsibility to enable others to achieve shared purpose under conditions of uncertainty. So the HAA convened a working group of individuals with experience in diversity, inclusion, and equity work to craft a seminar series on effective anti-racism tools for Harvard alumni engaged in the work. The series we have titled Using Public Narrative to Build Equitable and Inclusive Alumni Communities. This seminar series is founded on the work of prominent Harvard scholars such as Marshall Ganz and has powerful frameworks for dialogue across difference, sharing and exploring values through storytelling, and moving from self to us to calls for action. For those of you who are lucky enough to have participated in the HAA initiative on diversity and inclusion and the initiative on storytelling over the last 2 years, this will sound familiar. For those of you who did not, but heard about them, now's your chance. The Harvard Alumni Association Working Group on Anti-Racism and I are proud to invite you to a 4-week seminar series, again titled Using Public Narrative to Build Equitable and Inclusive Alumni Communities. This program will start the second week of October on the 8th and will be organized in a flipping the classroom style. Each week, participants can access pre-recorded sessions and a small homework assignment, followed by a weekly commitment of 90 minutes on Thursday to explore, discuss, and ground you in the tools that you can use in your communities to be the change agent to change the world. The link for this to sign up is popping up in the chat room. Once again, your participation in today's learning forum identifies you as someone both awoke and willing. Thank you. We hope you'll take advantage of the Anti-Racism Working Group's seminar series to better equip you for the work ahead. At this point, you can also in the chat room, please place, you'll see a survey coming up. Please give us feedback on today's event through the survey process. With that, we'll be closing out this session. Be well, stay strong.